What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
So time to predict what was the co-main event and has now been thrust into that main event spot. Jiří Procházka versus Alex Pereira. There are few fights left on this calendar year that I'm more excited about. Actually, I'll go ahead and say this is the most exciting fight to me left in 2023 because
Wow.
I have no idea what's going to happen. Now, this video is a predictions video, so I will have to surmise a prediction before this video wraps. But these are two dangerous, dynamic strikers that know how to get their hand raised, and I cannot wait for this matchup.
Yeah, this is a great one. I'm not going to say it's my number one most anticipated fight for the rest of the year, but it's certainly in the top three, maybe even the top two. And I just love everything about Alex Pereira. Everything he's done in his short UFC career is nothing but
amazing.
Yeah, incredible. It's so crazy. It's almost unfathomable. If he gets his hand raised against Jiří Procházka, we're talking about a guy who has less than 10 fights in the UFC with wins over 4 champions. It's no doubt the most meteoric rise in all of UFC history. And there's been some guys, some anomalies of the sport. Brock Lesnar, Conor McGregor, Khamzat Chimaev. Some guys have had some pretty crazy rises. Even Jiří Procházka. Remember, he came in with a great record, but he didn't have that many fights leading up to his number one contender fight and then into his title shot. But Alex Pereira sits atop all of those guys. I mean, he came in, he had a couple of easier fights at the beginning, and then they threw him right into the deep water with the biggest shark at 185. He came out on top, and that's a guy that he'd been in there many, many times against and just has a way to get his hand raised in there. And even though he doesn't have a very long MMA career, he doesn't have a ton of experience in the sport, I think Alex Pereira is one of the most impressive, one of the most, polarizing figures in the entire sport. And he's really stolen the heart of a lot of fans. And I think that, as crazy as it sounds, if you would have told me 2 years ago that Alex Pereira, the guy who's like, going the distance with Bruno Silva, is going to be a champ at one division, and he's going to move up, and he's going to be fighting Jiří Procházka basically for a title fight, I would have said you're absolutely crazy. He has got like 3 fights under his belt, and Jiří Procházka is going to kick his head off. Now, I think Alex Pereira actually has a really good chance at winning this. And the X's and O's of this one are very interesting because Jiří Procházka is a great striker, but he gets hit a lot. And at 205, you just can't afford to get hit that much. And we've seen Alex Pereira, who doesn't look like the most technical striker in the world, but what he does works really well and works well for him. So I think Alex Pereira is going to be a bit of a sniper at 205. I can't wait to see him get in there and mix it up with another champion. And I'm not going to bury my lead. I know you're the one who usually comes out with your prediction first, but I've got AP on this one.
No kidding. I've been back and forth a bit on this one, and I think I'm leaning more towards Jiri. And here's why. And then there's a couple of variables. On the downside for Jiri, we haven't seen him since the surgery. We don't know how he's going to come back and look.
Right.
And there's definitely going to be some ring rust there. Alex has been super active this past calendar year, so that favors in Alex's direction. But the reason I keep coming back to Jiri is that victory he had over Glover Teixeira.
Yeah.
He was about to lose that fight. Glover is far and away a better grappler than Jiří Procházka is, and Jiri submits him with like a modified bulldog rear naked choke submission.
Without any hooks in.
No hooks in. He's just basically on the side of Glover, pinning him down. That was pure will to win and finding a way to win.
Right.
And I don't know how it's going to happen. Yes, you're right. Jiri does get hit a lot. When he was fighting Glover, he was getting tagged. He keeps his hands down way more than I would like for him to, especially against a guy like AP. But I just keep circling back to the fact that the guy can pull a win from the jaws of defeat at almost any turn. And I feel like he's going to find a way to finish this one also by submission against Pereira.
Yeah, I think if he's going to win this one, it's probably going to be by submission because Alex Pereira is really good at fighting with this good patience, and he doesn't have this crazy sense of urgency. Even though we keep harping on the fact that he doesn't have a ton of MMA fights, he's got a lot of fights under his belt, and he has the pacing to go 25 minutes, even though he doesn't have a ton of fights under his belt. This guy knows how to fight slow. He knows how to pick it up at the end of rounds just so he can steal some minutes and steal some moments away from you and maybe get the crowd to react in a big way. Because anytime he throws something that's considered a power shot, it's effective, and it seems to get the crowd at the edge of their seat. So I think Jiří Procházka really needs to get this fight up against the cage, work on some trips, try to get Pereira down where he's least comfortable and where he has the least experience, which is in the grappling realm of MMA. Just try to exhaust him there so he's not as dangerous when they go to the feet at the start of each round. But Jiří Procházka moves so much, and I think a lot of people could say that Jiří Procházka may have one of the best chins at 205 because anytime you move as much as he does and you get hit as much as he does, that can lead to really devastating knockouts and not in your favor, right? If you're moving a ton and you zig when you're supposed to zag right into a 205er's punch or kick, that will hurt really bad and can leave you unconscious a lot of times. But it seems to me like even though Jiri does that and he does get cracked from time to time, he's able to keep moving forward. He's able to keep striking and able to basically take it. So he's a durable fighter. I think Alex Pereira is not going to be able to go in there and just one-punch KO Jiri. I think it's going to have to be accumulative. He's going to have to start to wear him down and look for those shots and basically be a little bit more accurate, kind of fight him how he fought Izzy. Push him up against the cage, make him feel your presence, but don't oversell the striking. Don't throw way too many things at him at once. Throw a lot of feints, throw a lot of unpredictable shots at him, and just throw all sorts of things that Jiří Procházka might accidentally run himself into. You know, knees up the middle when he goes to shoot, because I believe he's going to want to get this fight to the ground. Kicks when he starts to slip really far. You know, Jiri will actually slip like a boxer from time to time. He'll slip all the way down, which is like a golden rule in MMA is don't slip your head too far off the center line. Of course, you don't want to be a stick figure and stay up top and stay really tall and stuff, but you can't afford to slip and roll and dip like a boxer, because that's where the knees and kicks will meet your face. So Jiří Procházka has to be very careful that he doesn't go too far down there, but I think his fighting style is just so dynamic and he's such an agile mover that he's going to wind up running into some big shots from Poatan.
Yeah, I mean, all super valid points, and it's very convincing. Yeah. I just still am going to stick with Jiri winning this fight because I think that he's got something to prove coming back. He's been off for a long time. His belt was vacated. It's almost like the 205 curse. You know, you either vacate or you get injured or something like that happens. I think he wants that fight with Jamal Hill to really solidify that he was the guy, and if it weren't for the injury, he would have always been the guy, and I think he's going to come out. We're going to see the best version of Jiří Procházka that we've seen to date. It's going to be a fight that's going to be ultra entertaining from start to finish, but I think Jiri's going to get the finish probably in the 4th or 5th round. This one's going to drag out, and it's going to be a late finish for Procházka.
Yeah, I got a finish happening, but I think it's going to go to Poatan. And you know what else I'm kind of looking forward to is I want to see how these guys react with each other after the fight's done. After the dust settles, somebody gets their hand raised, because I feel like if they weren't going to fight each other, they'd probably be friends. Right? Yeah. You've got some guy who lives in the snow on a mountain in Czechoslovakia, and Jiří Procházka, he's like, you know, remember that video where he's like talking to the phone, he's like, I'm coming.
Yes.
And then you've got Poatan, who's like just super interesting. He'll get on a hoverboard with a bow and arrow on his back in the back, ASS of Brazil, and he'll start shooting soccer balls as he's playing on sparring on a hoverboard. So I feel like they're very intriguing individuals and would probably mesh up as great training partners and friends, just because they're so unique and they're so about the martial arts code and they're so unique in their own way. But first, we have to settle some business. We have to see who gets their hand raised, and I think this is the best fight 205 can have for the title.
Yeah, no doubt.